Gavaskar in West Indies tour, first series, whenever he used to go out to bat, he used to say to his captain, "See you, skipper," and Wadekar would glumly said, "Not for a long time though," and he was then only 34.
Yes.
So that was, I think, an overreaction from the board and also from the public in general, where the two black spots actually overruled whatever good things he had done as captain, player cap and captain, and then as a coach.
Hello and welcome to the Cricket Hub. Today, we will talk about an Indian cricketer under whose captaincy India has won the second and third consecutive away test series. And also, under his coaching, when he was the coach of Team India started to dominate in home soil as well. Yes, we are going to talk about none other than Ajit Wadekar. And today, as guest, we have Mr. Kolorao Brai, the cricket analyst, and who is following the cricket for over 6 decades, who have seen Ajit Wadekar to play the cricket, to captain the India, and who have seen the coaching period of Ajit Wadekar as well. Kolorao, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Kolorao, if I ask you about Ajit Wadekar, what the things comes in your mind first?
Two things. Number one, he was born a fool and he died independent.
Like
Please check the date of birth of Ajit Wadekar and the date he passed away, and you will understand.
the 1st April and 15th of August.
Absolutely. 1st April and 15th of August. And secondly, people mostly know him as a lucky captain.
Okay.
But if we follow his character, his career, particularly his career as player as well as coach, he actually was coach cum manager. He was not that lucky. I will try to briefly explain as we go forward. So,
Yeah.
so he is couple of things. Once again, let me mention. One is that he is one of the rare Indian cricketers who has played the role of player, captain, coach, and selection committee chairman. That's a
Exactly.
rare combination in Indian cricket. Very rare combination. Uh, Only about 2, 3 people they have actually done that. Lala Amarnath happened to be the first one. He was not a classically correct batsman, that's for sure. Although he came from Bombay Gharana, which was known for technical correctness, he could hit the ball quite hard, pretty hard. Considering that he was not a very well-built guy, he was more on a very kind of build. Uh, he used to play cross-batted shots pretty well, particularly on the onside. And many people have forgotten that amongst the number 3 one-down batter in Indian cricket, one down is supposed to be a very important position in Test cricket.
Exactly.
He comes fifth in terms of runs scored after Dravid, Pujara, Jimmy Amarnath, and Dilip Vengsarkar.
Okay.
That's not a bad record, I would say, especially in those days.
Absolutely.
And amongst, he was a rarity during his cricketing days, as these days we see more left-handed batters than right-handers in Indian team, right?
Yeah.
But in those days, left-handed batters were a rarity.
Exactly.
So amongst them, in terms of number of runs scored, 2000 plus category in Test cricket, he comes after Saurav Ganguly, Gautam Gambhir, Yashasvi Jaiswal, he's playing now, and Shikhar Dhawan.
Exactly.
So these are, I would say, pretty decent record as a batter. And
And I
he
hope
was,
for including Ravindra Jadeja and Rishabh Pant as they are kind of all rounder.
well, yeah, I did not include them because they are not pure batters. They both of them are all rounders of two types.
Absolutely.
Uh, and one more thing I must mention here, he was like most Indian batters of those days, even later on, a very good player of spin bowling.
Exactly.
And in terms of pacers, well, he never flinched from pace bowling. Not that he was a great player of pace bowling, but he was quite brave and he never flinched away from pace bowling, unlike some Indian cricketers or batters of those days. So that's about Ajit Wadekar, the batter.
He was the captain, yes, on the remarkable win in West Indies in 1971. He was the captain in the win in England on the same year. So, how will you rate Wadekar as captain? And we have to keep it in mind that Wadekar or the Team India that time won these two series when in the soil of West Indies and in England without any proper first bowler or pace bowler depending on the spinners only. So how will you rate his captaincy? How do you see his captaincy in these things?
I'll just take a step back before Wadekar became captain. He was a contrast from the previous captain, that was Mansur Ali Khan Pataudi. He was also had a lot of similarity. Similarity wise, Pataudi during his days, due to lack of pacers in India, he depended and nurtured the spinners. And we know the four spinner quartet, the famous quartet, they came during that period mostly. Prasanna was a bit senior, but Wadekar carried on that legacy of depending on spin bowling, particularly on Indian wickets, because he did not have pace bowlers in his bowling attack. Neither Pataudi nor Wadekar. That's where one similarity is there. Another similarity is Pataudi started bringing in a culture of fielding. We need to improve our fielding. We must improve our fielding. And that was carried forward by Wadekar during his days, particularly his captaincy days. India had 4 5 excellent closing fielders. Eknath Solkar, Wadekar himself, Abid Ali, Venkat
Yes,
Raghavan, to some extent Sunil Gavaskar. They
exactly.
were so excellent closing catching, and the spinners, they got very good support. So these two are similarities. The difference was Wadekar was much more stable, not mercurial. Pataudi was a bit whimsical, and he had an aristocrat air about himself. Wadekar was a typically middle class Mumbaikar or Bombayite in those days. So he was much more staid, calm, composed. And that has been Wadekar's characteristic as a person. Rarely get flustered or flinched, even under strong, difficult situations. So that is the difference between these two. And Wadekar as a captain, the one point I would like to highlight is that he saw that he did not have pace bowlers in his hand.
Exactly.
And he relied on using what was India's strength at that point of time. Batting was not very good. Gavaskar was just coming up.
Yes.
Vishwanath was more or less a stable one, but Vishwanath was not a big innings player. Gavaskar was, but he became that later on.
Yes.
Wadekar himself. So these three were the main batters in Indian team these days. Dilip Sardeshai did very well during the West Indies tour,
Exactly.
but other than that, India had to depend mostly on excellent spin bowling with very good close catching to achieve good results. And they did. Wadekar guided the team to three successive series wins. West Indies 1-0
Mhm.
abroad. England 1-0 abroad. And don't forget, England was that point of time the unofficial world champion team.
Exactly.
And thirdly, at home 2-1, India won when 72-73, Tony Lewis led the England side in India. Three success series victories, and no wonder people started calling him the lucky captain. But I
Yeah.
don't see much of luck. He
Mhm.
actually was quite calm, cool, calculative,
Mhm.
and very few know that he encouraged his player to sledge in those days.
Mhm.
Remember, even
Yes.
some of the Indian players those days, they were not very conversant with English.
Okay.
So even Wadekar said, even if you cannot pronounce the word properly, I mean
Mhm.
English sledging, as if behave at least that you are sledging.
Okay.
So early 1970s, Wadekar actually encouraged his teammates to sledge in a subtle and tactful manner. That
Yeah.
really is an exception during those days for an Indian captain.
Okay. And from here, if we go to his coaching tenure in 1992-93 season, when he became the Indian coach, and as you said, that coach come manager, and that's also a new journey for Indian cricket, because after that, from 1992 to 2011-12 season, if we consider in this 20 years of period, India have lost only, probably if I'm not wrong, two series in home soil, one
Three,
against South Africa in 2000
three
and other.
series, three.
Yes,
2000
three in
South
that's the
Africa,
England one.
yeah.
Hmm.
2004 Australia, and
Hmm.
then 2012 England.
Yes. So
Those are
this absolute dominance of Indian cricket in home soil started on his tenure. So what was the specialty in his coaching? What do you think?
yeah. Before I get into that, just let me add one more point. With Wadekar as a coach, come
Mhm.
manager,
Mhm.
India started one new trend. Till that time, coaches were appointed mostly on a series by series or tour by tour basis. If you
Yes.
look at Wadekar's tenure, it continued for almost 5 years.
Mhm.
And that was one thing which Wadekar tried to utilize.
Yes.
He tried to get to know his players, encourage them. He was a
Mhm.
very good manager.
Mhm.
Being in the profession of banking, he was a senior banking professional, used to
Mhm.
work for SBI, State Bank of India, and he was a very good man manager. So that is one. I mean, just to give him one example here,
Mhm.
Gavaskar in his England West Indies tour, first series, whenever he used to go out to bat, he
Mhm.
used to say to his captain, "See you, skipper," and Wadekar would glumly said, "Not for a long time though.
Okay.
Play a long innings. I don't want to see your face for a long time." That's what the message was. That was
Yes.
his way of encouraging his young, promising opener. Yeah,
That's
coming
right.
back to stand management, but together with that, he came out with some strategies which were more, I would say, tactical point of view, because even 19 to 92, 93 during that period, if
Mhm.
you look at some of the previous series, India lost badly,
Yes.
particularly at Australia, they all were overseas. And
Mhm.
Wadekar's first assignment was overseas.
Yes.
Zimbabwe, South Africa combined tour, where India, Zimbabwe it was 0-0, one match, and South
Mhm.
Africa it was 1-0, four matches.
Yeah.
And Australia, India suffered mostly because of lack of proper pace bowling attack.
Mhm.
Remember, Kapil was tapering down,
Mhm.
and Srinath was a relatively new entity.
Mhm.
Prabhakar was all right. So Wadekar realized that after so many series defeats overseas, now we have got a chance to play a number of series at home. England, then I think it was Zimbabwe,
Mhm.
and then it was Sri Lanka, home and away, New Zealand, and so on. West Indies also. So he decided that okay, let's leverage our strength. What
Mhm.
was that strength? Spin bowling. He tried to build up on the spin bowling, utilizing Kumble as the main core. By that time, Kumble had about 2.5 years experience, and he got to use newcomers like Venkatpati Raju, and Rajesh Chauhan, another newcomer. So, and that was supported by the pace attack, which had Kapil, sometimes Kapil and Manoj Puhakar mainly. At home, Srinath did not get many chances. So he tried to utilize this that okay, we'll have an attack like this. And by that time, Indian fielding had improved. There were quite a few good fielders. And Indian batting, compared to Wadekar's playing days, got somewhat stronger. We had Sachin, we had Azhar, we had Sidhu, who was a very good player of spin. So,
Exactly.
and Kamli did very well for a couple of series at home. Vinod Kamli, I'm talking about. So, Wadekar tried to use all these resources in a tactful manner to leverage the strength of his side, which was spin bowling, and England were whitewashed 3-0 in 92-93, and
Yes.
a year later, 93-94, Sri Lanka was whitewashed 3-0, and all those three were innings wins. So during Wadeka's tenure, if you notice, India played, I think, 5 series, 13 tests. They won 9, an excellent record, of course, at home, and lost only one. That was at a very greenish pitch, I would say, pace friendly
Mohan.
pitch, Mohali against West Indies, who had a very decent pace attack, including Courtney Walsh. So that was the record of Wadekar during his home series record. Even the away series record was also not that bad. Sri Lanka, it was a 1-0 win in a 3-test series. New Zealand, it lost one. And so overall, India's record during Wadekar's coaching tenure, certainly at home and well, reasonably overseas. There are not too many overseas tours though, was pretty good. In fact, that was the time India, as you were saying, India started dominating test series at home.
Exactly.
That's what you were
And the
saying.
path India followed on last, after that also, after the tenure of Ajit Wadekar, India followed the same path as well for the next few years.
So
But
it was
I
the
can,
trend. It was the trend. Wadekar actually, in a team, he started a trend, and also with that, they started a trend of having, I would say, plan for long-term coaches because the board realized, people realized that well, having a long-term coach can have certain benefits in terms of team building and planning and so on.
exactly. But what you told in both the things, when Wadekar was captain and when Wadekar was coach, if you compare, obviously the spin quartet was more efficient than this spin trio of Kumble. If I think about combination,
True.
so why the ratio of win is less at the time of his captaincy rather than his coaching period.
Uh, Few things. One is the historical fact. Historical basically means a team gradually matures in handling test match situations. So Indian team became more confident, more mature in terms of handling test match situations, winning matches as compared to say mid to late 60s
First
and
event.
early 90s. Okay, that's a historical thing. So that's one thing which I would like to stress upon, and that's one thing. And secondly, what happened was Indian spinners during the 60s, when they could not attack much because their batting strength was not very robust. Fielding was not really up to mark, and they did not have many runs to play with. Spinners require runs. Any bowlers require runs, but spinners require runs to play with because they have to experiment more, and their chances of getting hit is more. Whereas in 92, 93, if you look at it, Indian batting was comparatively more robust. Fielding was quite, overall fielding standard was quite good compared to the late 60s. That's one thing. And thirdly, as I said, batting and fielding, and so bowlers. used to get more runs. Like Anil Kumble once said in some other context, we can bowl out the opposition team, but we need some runs to play with, particularly the spinners. So these are some of the reasons the ratio of win went significantly high at home between these two periods. So
Fine.
these are some of the factors which I would think about.
So what you are saying, the batting is a crucial part in case of home soil test win, whatever the spin attack you have. So now, if I come to the contemporary, now we if I can come to the recent past, that India have lost couple of series within a span of 1 year in home soil against New Zealand and South Africa. So do you think that here also the batting is the concern? The batting is the reason that that's why we have lost two series consecutively in home soil.
Yeah, that's what it looks like mostly. The batting and the type of batting weakness. Like just for example, if you have to on a spinning track, if the track is a spinning one or a slow one, you need to be patient in test matches. I'm talking about. So you need to be patient. But what has happened over the last few years is that the new batters they are coming up, the batting culture has been transformed more in line with hard hitting, big hitting cricket than test cricket, because in test cricket you need to have patience, some time you need to defend, and in limited over cricket, particularly T20, the bowlers don't rarely get time to settle down. 4 overs is the max. In test cricket, the bowlers can bowl 20, 25 overs, and they can really get time to settle down and dominate the batsman. So this is one cultural difference which has happened. Plus, Indian batters have definitely become weaker against spin bowling over the last few years. We don't have Sachins, Sauravs, Lakshmans, and Dravids anymore.
Yes.
We have batters, very capable ones, but their spin playing ability is not really, for most of them, is not really up to the mark. And on top of that, the spinners, the opposition spinners, I mean, they have become more familiar with Indian conditions, Indian batters, and for example, Vic Santner, because they have been playing and interacting with Indian cricket in India for a long, long period regularly. And they
Yeah,
have got a chance to improve themselves with respect to Indian conditions. These are some
exactly.
of the reasons which I believe has been there in the last 2, 3 series at home where India performed pretty poorly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if we come back, if we go back to Wadekar part again, yes, he spoke about the success part of Wadekar as captain, as coach, but at the same time, there are some dark spot as well. If we talk about the summer of 42, if we talk about the disaster in 1996 World Cup, how you look these things?
See, that is the right at the beginning. I said that he was not that lucky.
Yes.
Whatever good results he had produced for 3 years as captain, just one series defeat, bad series defeat, 3-0 whitewash, 42 all out in England in 1974, finished his cricket career as a batter, as a captain, even first class cricket. So, and he was then only 34.
Yes.
So, that was, I think, an overreaction from the board and also from the public in general. Okay, that is one thing. Uh, and the important part is that even at that point of time, in the very next series, 1974-75 West Indies home series, if Wadekar were there, he still was the best number 3 batter we had.
Yeah, as I told.
Yeah, if you look at the batters who played at number 1 and number 3 position against West Indies, Roberts, Boyce, Julian, Holder, they had 4 pacers. Of course, they played 3 at a time. So the batters, most of them, they were either debutants or someone like Solkar who never used to bat at number 3.
Yes.
If Wadekar was not there, had he been there, probably Indian batting would have fared better. That's about batter Wadekar. Captain Wadekar I talked about. And as a coach, once again he was unlucky. Whatever good work he has done, Hero Cup, promoting Tendulkar to 1994 in New Zealand as an opener, which became a great success. It's a tactical move, I agree fully. And then in the World Cup, even before the semi-final, beating Pakistan pretty comprehensively, everything was went for a toss just because of one bad day in office, a bad decision about fielding after winning the toss, and fielding batting failed miserably against a very huge expectation. Everybody expected that now that we have beaten Pakistan, we are surely going to go in final, and then final probably we'll play with Australia, and we will have a good chance to win the trophy after so many years, 1983, 1996. So, and remember one thing, during that time, the media expectations, exposure, television, it became a big thing. So the influence of media expectation creation was very huge. And just one failure, Wadekar had to put in his papers.
So one failure in his cricketer life, one failure in uh, coaching life, spoiled the whole
That's
thing.
that's what actually where the two black spots actually overruled whatever good things he had done as captain, player, cap, and captain, and then as a coach.
But if I ask you one last question, that why was it Wadekar still relevant in Indian cricket? What do you say?
Because he knew and he implemented one thumb rule in the golden rule in the world in life: play to your strength. First you know your strength and the opposition's weakness, and play to your strength to tighten the opposition. That was the impact of spin bowling. Get spinners against batters who are not that comfortable, especially on home wickets. And that was a very tactical, simple ploy. And I already told about his man management. He was a very good man manager, so he could motivate his boys, his team, and tactically he was pretty sound, and he was very cool person, a cool customer. So all these things together, he was a very good fit for a coach or a mentor or a manager.
Thank you, Parabda, for your very valuable opinion and joining with us. I hope that we'll see you again soon in some.
Thank you.